Now, here's a video I've been wanting to make ever since we did that Zillow video back in November. If you didn't watch it, I'll make sure there's a link below in the description. Now, in this video, I'm going to illustrate why Opendoor is very likely to close their doors in the near future. Between poor valuations, utterly inept marketing and management, and the benefit of good luck behind them, soon you'll understand why Opendoor is poised to shut their doors for good. Now, a year ago, the three largest iBuyers, as they're commonly referred to, were Zillow, OfferPad, and Opendoor. Now, while Zillow made their name by estimating your home's value, the greatest irony was that when it truly mattered, they had no damn idea what properties were worth. Even the CEO of Zillow sold his personal home for 40% less than the Z estimate. Now, as a realtor, Zillow has always been a joke. While artificial intelligence and algorithms can be wildly accurate and quick at many things, creating a quantitative value for something that may be subjective, like a home's desirability, is certainly not one of them. See, an algorithm can't take into consideration the quality of a remodel. An algorithm can't determine the negative effect of a home that backs up to a main street versus a side street. An algorithm can't hear that neighbor's 4 dogs that bark incessantly all day and night. Well, as a result, Zillow sucked at home flipping. They paid too much and sold for too little. Keep in mind, Zillow sucked so bad at house flipping, they couldn't make money in a market where every asset they purchased seemed to go up like 10% between acquisition and sale. I mean, you gotta be pretty damn bad at flipping to not make money these past few years. But I digress. They died, and while nobody mourned their loss, Opendoor and OfferPad positioned themselves as the two frontrunners. Well, I don't know if it was hubris or shareholder obligation, but since Zillow's demise, Opendoor has been especially inept at running their business right into the ground. Now, I've flipped over 100 homes in my career between investors and myself. Now, the golden rule is that the money is made on the buy, not the sell. Back in 2008 to 2012, it wasn't uncommon to walk away with 20, even 30% net profit. Nowadays, 10% is a bit more realistic. The margins get so thin that I typically turn down 10 deals for each one that I take. Now, Zillow was in a tight spot. They were known for their website and consumer-friendly approach. Meanwhile, they charge realtors an arm and a leg to buy leads from their website. My point is that Zillow had a reputation to maintain. The only way Zillow could make flipping profitable was by paying substantially less to acquire properties. Well, that's fine for you and me. I don't mind lowballing a seller. Worst thing they say is no. Well, Zillow was afraid that if they went around lowballing sellers, it would affect their main source of business. Rather than risk reputation, they wisely bailed. Now, Opendoor simply just doubled down on stupid. I literally watched them pay retail and over retail for properties. I even did a whole segment on one property that Opendoor overpaid for a few months ago. Well, now look at this. I just did a tax search in Las Vegas, and they currently own 651 properties. Right now, we have just over 9,000 homes on the market, with 3,000 of them in escrow. So just over 7% of the homes on the market are owned just by Opendoor. Let that one sink in. I had my friend in Phoenix pull the tax records there. He came up with 1,581 properties. Meanwhile, Austin, Texas only had 232. So in the more stable markets, they have less. In the more volatile markets, they decided to double, triple, and quadruple down. In the third quarter of last year alone, they purchased 15,000 homes. So let's have a laugh at their expense. First, 8615 Tortoise Canyon. They purchased this for $560,000 back in November of last year. 8 months later, they're asking $555,000. They've been sitting on this for 166 days. Had they not been greedy and ultimately foolish, they could have sold, made a small profit, and moved on. Second, the home I featured a couple months ago, 113 Sapodilla. They paid $615,000 in December of last year. Now they're asking $19,000 less than they paid 8 months ago. Again, if you couldn't sell a home between January and March of this year, you were either grossly overpriced or utterly inept. In this case, I think both apply. Finally, here's 10,005 Scenic Walk, which they paid just over $608,000 for in January. Now, after 140 days on the market, they're asking only $605,000. What's worse, these are a few properties that they're finally getting aggressive on. Most of their holdings are egregiously overpriced and will wind up selling for substantially less, since the properties I showed you actually had time to appreciate even. Unfortunately, Opendoor squandered their opportunities due to poor management. Okay, now, one of the craziest and utterly obvious mistakes has to do with their marketing strategy. Now, this is where the corporate mentality sometimes is a major hindrance. Now, there comes a time for every house flipper to revisit their initial strategy, especially in a down market. Typically, you have two simple choices: either lower the price and or raise the sales commission for the buyer's agent. Already, we're seeing new home builders offer 4% commissions. Other builders that either weren't cooperating with brokers or offering reduced commissions finally decided to become competitive now that homes just don't sell themselves anymore. But Opendoor? Nah. They would literally cut off their nose to spite their face. See, sometimes lowering the price is everything. If you have a home priced at, say, $505,000, a $5,000 price reduction puts you into a completely different class of homes. Instead of competing with homes up to $525,000 or $550,000, now you're likely the best home available for people whose budgets are maxed out at $500,000. Now, if you're at $515,000, lowering the price $10,000, it generally doesn't really move the needle too much. You don't really slide into another price category. You simply lost $10,000 of negotiating power. Well, this is exactly what Opendoor is doing. They seem to be lowering prices every 2 weeks on their holdings. Meanwhile, guess what? They're only offering agents a paltry 2%. Now look, a year ago homes sold themselves. So while most listings here in Las Vegas were at 2.5% and some at 3%, a handful of greedy listing agents, they went ahead and offered 2% commissions because they knew that the home would sell itself anyways. They may have lost half of their buyer pool for their clients, but instead of 20 offers, they simply had 10 offers. The seller's happy and everyone moves along. In fact, the seller likely didn't even know about the 2% commission, let alone losing half of the buyers and potentially selling their home for more money. Well, instead of adapting with the changing times, now Opendoor is about the only seller foolish enough to offer a 2% commission. Now, I know what you're saying. Greedy ass realtors boycotting homes just to make a buck. And you'd be right. That's poor business and technically a breach of your fiduciary agreement to represent your buyer. But let's also not be naive. Most realtors make about $50,000 a year. So going into a down market, about 20% of these realtors next year won't make any money. So when agents are broke, the difference between, say, a $10,000 commission versus $15,000, that's life-changing. Not to mention, this gives Opendoor a terrible reputation amongst realtors. So when you desperately want to sell homes, the last thing you want to do is alienate the very people you're asking for help. Now, I even reached out to Opendoor about a month ago about their commission structure, and they simply just completely dismissed it. Now, the last issue is this. You can't overpay for properties and then expect to make a profit, especially in a declining market. Opendoor has finally figured this one out. 6 months ago, they were gladly paying retail for homes. Now, check this out. On July 11th, I listed this property for $575,000. Now, 6 months ago, Opendoor would have likely offered between $550,000 to list price. Pretty easy, no problem there. Well, now look at their offer. They offer just under $428,000. Simplified, 25% below the list price. Now, to be fair, that's exactly what I would offer as a private investor as well. That same day, I received 2 offers and it wound up selling for $3,000 over list price. Had my client taken Opendoor's offer, she would have lost $150,000. So, with Opendoor no longer offering competitive offers, how many folks are going to take 75 cents on the dollar? Some, but there's simply no way to meet the critical mass that they need to provide gross revenue and cover payroll along with other fixed costs. Not to mention, their reputation is about to be tainted by both realtors and homeowners after they start receiving these kinds of insulting offers. This is the very reason that Zillow got out of the game. They realized the only sustainable way forward was to lowball homeowners and then risk tarnishing their reputation. Well, apparently Opendoor sees no issues here. So, what do you guys think? Would you sell your home to Opendoor for 75 cents on the dollar? Just so you don't have to deal with realtors and people viewing your home? Do you think Opendoor can they succeed given their poor marketing strategies and overpriced acquisitions? I would love to read your comments below. Now, please stay tuned because I've got some amazing property tours coming in the next few weeks. As always, thank you so much for watching. Please click and subscribe, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Deuces.